Alright, so I've opened up Portrait Studio and I'm just setting up my model so that we can take a look at, so let's take a look at her side view. We can take a look at her nose size. I'm going to make them a little bigger. Nose bridge depth is outward, so I'm just going to make the nose speak a little bit more toward like a normal looking nose, nothing like a cute like that. Just something that's a little bit more out, somewhere in the middle, not too much, not too little, and just so that we can take a look at the nose bridge. That's what the topic of today's lesson is, that a lot of you are missing out on the importance of the nose bridge. So when a nose is really large, it really catches the light, like that Punisher nose, and then like just something in the middle. When we have more altitude, it catches the light source, and if we take a look at the side of the face, what happens? It speaks this map, this geographical kind of like altitude map right here, this graph, these lines right here. They tell us what's the highest point. The highest point is always going to be the nose, but you guys shade your work as if the highest point is the cheek. Now I'm curious where that started. I'm not sure what it is. A lot of you forget how important this little area is to the light source, how significant it is to all of this this geometric map of the face, familiarity, the fact that it behaves like in the anatomy that's suggested skeletal wise, so that under all of that flesh, the highest point in the nose, the highest skeletal point, including the cartilage attached to it, is the nose, so it has to be directed like that into the light source. So what I'm going to do now is minimize the cheek fat and raise the cheek size. Alright, so really making them pop out. And even then, when they're so high, even when they're this strong, this beautiful cheekbone right here, even when it's this big, like even when you have no cheek fat at all, it's still not bright enough, it's still not catching the light in such a way as to contest the nose. Oops. So if the light was coming from an angle like that, there goes my phone. I hope it stops. Just one ring, please. Yes, no more robo. Didn't fail me. Stupid fucking telemarketers. But yes, right here, just what's happening here. Even then, look at the side of the nose. It still stays as the brightest point. Now I'm just brightening up the cheeks just a little bit. Just a little bit more. But really the point of it, even when it comes from an angle, it's still not strong enough. And the nose is the last point to be visible when the light is creating that skull light right here. And the light is shooting up from the top down at a really sharp angle above the head. So it's directly, look at the arrow, it's indicating that it's straight down, perfectly aligned with the camera. And when it starts tilting downward, then even then, the nose is still one of the last places to lose brightness. It is the last place to lose brightness, compared, of course, to the top of the head, which is directly exposed to the light source as if a solar panel. So I look at these pieces here, and I'm just wondering, where where is that light source? Where is it gone? What's happened? Right? So what we do is we don't just throw a bunch of highlight, get our soft brush and just throw the highlight. No, we go in like this. We go in mad. If you guys caught my last class, you know that, early on, if I'm making these kinds of corrections, I don't take any, I don't care. There's no caution. You just throw caution to the wind, because this is supposed to be the top piece of the nose. You are the one who forgot this. You don't get to say this looks too rough at this stage. No, you go right back and you throw one of the initial native geometry indicators in here, and you don't complain about it. You don't get to complain about it because you forgot this main shadow. So now all I'm doing is blending it in. I'm not erasing away at it. I'm still using it in the same strength that I designed it in, the same strength that it came in. You missed one of the, you forgot to include one of the initial shadows. And this is what you have to do. If you forgot it, you got to paint over everything. So before, after. Her nose was unusually narrow, unnaturally narrow, possibly narrow. Right? So what I'm doing now is I'm just going to try to include it back both in its width and in its illumination. Sorry, I'm getting all sniffly because it's cold. Okay. So I'm just using Dodge Tool to hurry up the process, probably on midtones. Dodge Tool has an ugly little effect on the colors, kind of warms them up too soon for me. Alright, so if everything that I did scared you, if that thing that I just threw on the face just now was just too much for you, then yeah, just deal with it, because you're supposed to have included this really essential geometry signature, the top part of the nose. Right, so all I'm doing now is just continuing the sculpting process, just thinking about where all this is going. Again, I'm so sorry about my sniffles, they're just gonna happen forever. And I'm gradually building up the height of the nose, getting a new layer, and radially creating that movement down. See that? Only the brightest point gets the lightest, and then I erase away, and then I redo it, and I erase away and redo it until I know for sure that I have built up with the utmost caution with a soft brush, creating the texture of the light source on the skin, and just working with the guide of the geometry as my teaching tool, as my learning tool, as my drawing tool. Geometries are a learning tool. Write that back to me. That means that they are there to help you. Can you turn off the window? Turn off the window, Punk. Turn off the window. Did I just say turn off the window? I mean, close the window. No, 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 no. Keep this door open because there's an echo. I don't want there to be an echo. Okay. So what I'm doing here is I'm just, again, reviewing. I'm going to erase it all back down again and then redraw it in. So technically I need to merge it down so that, and then I readdress how bright it is, but still the plane is supposed to be this sharp. Turn off the window. Turn off the fan on the window. I've been just all over the place. If you're an Arab though, if you're an Arab like me, you'll say close the lights. Turn off the window, because we're translating it directly from Arabic, which is like that. If you know anything about that, you'd understand me. Geometries are learning tools. So that means that if you project the image of the cube on here, you'll know why we have this area unblended with the areas around it. Geometries are a learning tool in the way that they describe which perspective. So geometries are useful for perspective. They're important for understanding perspective. So yeah, I threw it too much, maybe there's a bit too much brightness happening. Nevertheless, I have a great shape now for the nose that speaks. So I can always get darken tool and darken as I need to, but I still have a nose at the end of the day. So maybe I brightened too much, maybe I did too much work. How do you edit this kind of stuff? You just rethink the geometry. What is the core geometry of the nose? And it is this cube, this rectangle, long rectangle. Yes, the nose can be very easily confused as a cylinder. Write this back to me, that the nose is, or students see organic shapes quicker than they see geometric shapes. So assume that you're always going to have this disability. Assume that you'll have this disability indefinitely. That you'll never be able to see the geometries. You'll see the curve first. It's easier for you to accept a cylinder and a sphere versus accepting a cube. Okay. So you're putting a lot into this face, and I sincerely hope that this is one big, frame, and one frame in your greater development, that you're not going to get stuck worshiping this piece too long, or make a masterpiece out of this. I hope that you just run straight into your next study, and that next time you do a study, you don't skip the geometry of the nose. You'll end up having to paint a massive cube in the middle of nowhere, with surrounded by finished work. So using Portrait Studio as my guide, I see that there's a little bit of brightness on the cheek that I'm missing. Of course, this is not the same kind of light source. Just around there's a little bit of brightness around the nose. So it's a very different face, of course, but it's still a guide. We're still guided by our unified skeletal structure. Okay, students see organic shapes quicker than geometric shapes. Again, so when you assume that you have that disability, you spend that a little extra hour or two figuring out the geometry of the face you're about to study, you're really you're not gonna lose what you're not gonna lose, you're only gonna gain, because you assume that you're gonna have the disability that leads you into using too much curvature in your work. So a cylinder is a much worse learning tool. It's not the best option for figuring out, mapping out the building that is the nose. So I'm throwing that light on either side of the nose here, and I'm going to show you why that's useful. Okay. It's very useful because it's letting us see where the upward facing bit of the lips starts. It starts very high. So again, I'm thinking about, planes that like solar panels looking up at the light source. Which of these planes in the face look directly up at the light source? And I'm using a soft brush just like I showed you last time, so I do recommend to not use the soft brush if you're blocking in early, but of course if you're this late and you're polishing, you're going to have to include a soft brush. So using a very magazine style lighting situation where they completely omit the shadows, and you need to have those shadows back. You need to bring these shadows back. These cast shadows are extremely important for the structural, I guess, what's the word? Just trying to find a good word. Just for the structural map of the face, just so that it makes sense as a structure. Heavy, dense structures stand in the way of the light source. The density, I guess, the structural density, there you go, of the light source. The smallest indication of a cast shadow does so much for your painting. Alright, then we go back here to Portrait Studio. It's telling that there's a core shadow right here, and squint our eyes, we see this on switch, this downward facing C, and we see like a big circle of just dark right here. So I'm going to try to squint my eyes here. I don't see enough of that, so I'm just going to bring that back in. Right, just like that. And a new layer, of course. We always want to stay careful. This is a polishing editing technique using new layers. If you're just going in straight into your painting, you really don't need to polish excessively. You're not going to be using a soft brush that early anyway. And then I'm just going to throw some highlight over the brows. The brows are under the light source just as much as the brow bone is. The eyebrows are reflective, the hairs are reflective. They're going to reflect some of that light back, so you really need to show that off. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about what needs to be smudged. Same technique as last time. Anything that is under the light source is detailed. Anything that is in the shadow or any kind of umbre at all has less detail. Detail needs light to be visible. You remove and smudge away anything that is under shadow, that is excessively contesting the detail anywhere else. So you didn't have too much, write that back to me by the way, but you didn't have too much detail, but I'm still smudging away. I want to make these eyebrows, since this is a very big close-up, I don't want these eyebrows to take on too much detail. I want to make it gradually introduce the presence of the hairs everywhere. Alright, this cast shadow travels all the way down. She's got very strong brows, so this cast shadow, using darken layer, it's going to move all the way down. Right, so this cast shadow doesn't just stop where you drew the line. Want to know why you didn't throw that line in there? You didn't throw the shadow on this line? Because it was a line. Because it was something that was outlining your eyes for you. It was the direct inversion of the black line, and you didn't want to lose it either. So you just kept that little sneaky ass line in there. And you didn't cover it with a cast shadow. It's supposed to be covered with a cast shadow. So now I'm just throwing in some extra shadow over here. Some more cast shadows over here. And just look at what's happening to the face. It's waking up. It's reacting to a light source nearby. It feels more realistic because we've made it react to a light source. Cast shadows aren't something you're going to say, okay, well, I know I don't use any cast shadows right now. I'll use them sometime soon. No, use them as soon as possible, please. Please use them as soon as possible. If you're going to save cast shadows for another day where you feel like you're going to have the patience for them, don't do that to yourself. You really need cast shadows. Alright, start your adventure with cast shadows as soon as possible. Merge down. Now I'm going to build the highlights of the cheeks in such a way that they don't contest the nose. I'm still going to bring in some more shine for the nose, for the forehead. Actually, let me do that now real quick. So I'm going to do lighten. I'm going to grab the color of the light source. It's nothing to do with the color of the skin tone anymore. This is the actual color of the light source. I'm bringing it in, low opacity, normal brush, and I'm gradually radial. Can anyone explain to me what radial means? Alright, so I'm just going to do it without explaining what it means. First brush stroke. And I'm radially building up this highlight. Yeah, it's everywhere. It's flooding everywhere. But it's okay. We're gonna erase away what we don't need. Can anyone explain what radial means? Yeah, the jaw looks flat because the shadow of the neck is the perfect gradient. It's making the neck feel like it's made out of a flat paper. It's not following a cylinder. But the neck, the chin isn't really where it's happening. So we'll talk about the chin in a second. What does radial shading mean? So I'm erasing away where it touched everything else. We've already illuminated those areas. And I'm just editing what I don't need. And I'm going to reassess it again and apply highlights where I need it. Zoom out all the way just to see if this is working. As a makeup artist, still a makeup artist. Just looking at this whole look, it's just so just as a girl, it's just such a modern makeup look. Hair swept to the side, that whole thing. Alright, very, very magazine inspired, very beautiful, kinda modern beauty, Barbie beauty. Alright, so what I'm doing to the cheeks is I'm introducing the values, gradually introducing them. If you mean the process, it's when you do one big stroke, then you continue to decrease in sides. Spherical, circly radius. Thank you, Sophia. The sand pile. So yeah, exactly. Thank you, Carolina. Radial means building up light like a sand pile, shrinking the brush with each stroke and pointing where that high point is that ends up, the top of the pimple. That points to the light source. Where's that light source coming from? And then now for the half of the face on either side, I'm actually gonna, what the heck did I just do? I'm gonna get darken, and I'm just gonna darken the sides of the face. Again, gradually, radially darkening them. This hair is blanketing the sides of the face in such a way that it's slowly revealing the face. The face is slowly emerging from the sides. Another thing that you need to do, so before, after, again, more three-dimensional, more response to the presence of the light source. Going to cast another shadow over here, but this shadow is going to take a bit more shape because it's the shadow of the bangs off that same light source that's casting over everything. And I'm just following the contour, this map, this net of vertical and horizontal lines, longitude and latitude lines that are on the face. This needs to be more red. Alright, and then again, starting sharp and ending blurry. That's how cast shadows behave. And I'm just erasing away at that, just slightly. And again, I'm proving the light source is nearby. There's some kind of immediate presence of the light source, and this is how you push your work to the next level. It's by these tiny little changes. Alright, are the lips too matte? Yes, they are. I was just going to get to the lips, blur their edges, and then just introduce the highlight. I mean, you can get mattified lipstick. I mean, I use matte lipstick just because that shine is so 90s, that whole smackers or whatever they're called shine. It's just it's not trending anymore, that ombre kind of, why am I talking about makeup? That mattified lip look is much better. But you can include some highlight just for the sake of the texture. So again, I'm using my smudge brush. As you know, it's a really good brush to use. I'm not bringing in any new paint. I'm just reorganizing the paint that's already there. A lot of you bring in new paint all the time. You don't always need to bring in new paint. And I'm smudging the edges. I'm trying to unify this lip with the skin around it. It feels like it's just floating, suspended, separate from the anatomy around it. And I don't want that look. Alright, so I'm just blending that away, blending the sides, especially the sides. Very difficult to line lipstick here on the sides. We usually just smudge it out just to be safe. If you're lining the lipstick that way, it's gonna look very fake. You always want a natural transition. I know it's like the antithesis of makeup is to just try the natural thing, but that's what it's called, a more natural line. I should do makeup tutorials. And then I'm just gonna sneak some of that skin tone on the sides of the lip, just slightly, not too extreme, nothing too intense. And then again, the edges of the lips, there's no radial shading at all. So I'm completely removing the edge of the lips here, and I'm unifying the shadow on either side of the lip. I'm gonna have to zoom out for this, with the skin around it, because it's a pit. It slowly moves down toward the darkest spot. Sorry, sometimes I'm at a loss for words. And it's the cave, the deepest part, is actually not that dark. So we lost the smile, it's okay. She looks like she just read a bad text. Alright, so I'm just throwing the first dot in there, second dot, third dot, and then we go in. And the brush gets smaller and smaller. This is also radial shading. It's a slower inversion. It's the inversion of the highlight, and it just works just a little bit slower than the highlight because it's a darker. You're working with a darker color. Okay. So lips take just a little bit more time because it's a lot of erasing and back and forth, but it's definitely worth it. You get a lot of form read out of that. Now I'm using my brush. I'm just using the paint that's already there as well, and just reorganizing it, not bringing in any new darks. Just reorganizing what I see. The top of the lip gets that highlight, and that highlight moves all the way into the top anatomy of the lip, just like that. Okay, so I made it just a little too light for the demonstration, so I'm just going to turn it back down just a little. Then go back and smudge. It's such a soft texture, the skin is. It takes a lot of smudging and a lot of gradual build up before you get to where you want to go. Normal. I'm just going to unify this lip with the skin around it. That's the point of the lip. Always try to make it connect to the skin around it. Students always forget to do this kind of stuff. And that's why the lips they draw look so cartoony, like a Betty Boop or whatever lip. They have those weird little tails on either side. Okay, so I kind of lost her smile. Sorry about that. Now she's got like that bitch face. And I'm gonna make the edge of the chin, and then just probably, if I can get past the chin edge, I'll probably make the neck just a little bit more cylindrical. Okay, so I'm just trying in a new layer. It's okay if it's messy. Take it easy. Don't be scared. Don't be scared to paint over your work like this. If you need to do it, you gotta do it. But all this shadow is indicating is a more three-dimensional neck. More three-dimensional cylinder to the neck. And I'm bringing in the actual skin tone that we used. This is important because you should frame the shadow towards the edge, but the actual skin tone that we used here on the sides of the neck also gets some shadow. So you also have the neck cast shadow of the chin on the neck, which is actually extending even further than that, and it gets tapered off. And then you've got the side as well. And then, of course, radially descending the chin into that shadow. So we choose one of these, and then we throw one, and then we throw another one, and then of course we erase away if we need to. But all we're doing here is just finding where the geometry is. So this gradual shading that I did, it's a sphere study. Have you guys ever done sphere studies? Just painting a ball in space. Some of them are metallic, some of them are red, some of them have bounce light. But that's technically what the lower half of the face is. It's a sphere. So there's that geometry that guided me there. So it's not hard to correct your work. See how nice that transition is. It makes the neck connect to the shadow around it, to the light environment around it. I should probably erase away till I get that color back, because I'm still technically in the shadow. It's still too dark, eh? Some of that redness back. And then there. For the eyes, I feel like you need just a little bit more. So you need to now is the time to start to differentiate between which areas are wet and which areas are dry. And these areas right here, just around the face, the most sticky outy parts, I guess. All right. This is a very beautiful face. It's got all the workings of just a pretty pinup. You can get away with this face a lot. It's a very employable face. Easy for game design that's sort of geared toward that whole pinup character design kind of world. So it's good for a portfolio, just to show that you're working like this. But you got to include all this other stuff. You can't forget about your light environment. It's not optional. It's not optional. A light environment is not optional. Write that back to me, please. You too, Marco. You better write it down. You're not exempt. Just because you're the TA doesn't mean you get to have fun on your phone while I'm trying to teach. Write it down, Marco. Let me see your notes. People on YouTube probably think I'm crazy. Alright, so I'm going to do the before and after. I'm going to do the exact same nose change for... No, I made Marco sad. So I'm going to do the exact same nose change for what's after. So before, almost no structure on the nose, and yet it has the illusion of being completed. And then after, we bring all of that three-dimensional back. So that, combined with just a little bit more green under her eyes, because she's quite pale. So we don't go to green, we don't actually go to green. We choose the color, slide up, and suddenly we have green, compared to the red we had before, because red and green are complementary. We're not even in green yet, and we have green, right? That's all we need. Color, and yeah, and we're just throwing some of that quote-unquote green, which really feels like green. I'm also going to get some blue, it also behaves like green, and throw it here. Yeah, it's a lot. It's okay. We lower it down all the way. Zoom out till it looks good. Very nice. Lower it just a little bit more. Probably should leave it high so you guys can see it. Okay, and then I'm going to desaturate anywhere where there's a lot of light. So wherever the light touches, because it's white, takes away a lot of the color. And only midtones get blushes. So the nose gets a little bit of white. We're pretty much grayscaling. And if you want to bring back saturation, you find the midtones. Saturation exists in the midtones. Right? Well, this is kind of off. Not everywhere. We add the highlight just around beneath the light. Those are the rules. Take them or leave them. They really do affect your painting in a really, really big way. I'm going to smudge the outside of the black of her eyes. They're a little excessive. And the outline here, the outline of the pupil, the outline on the outside of the iris can actually inhibit the realism. Write that back to me. Any line anywhere can really affect the realism. So all I did was remove the line and add just a little bit more highlight. Take some of this blue and smudge it some more on the outside. bring that sponge tool back, put it on desaturate, and then desaturate the whites of the eyes even more. And even more realism. So this is how you take the next step. Where is your geometry? That's where you're going to have the answers to taking this from flat to three-dimensional. Any line anywhere can really affect realism. Even lines that are there organically. Alright? Even if the lines are just supposed to be there, a lash line can really affect it. And there are so many other areas here where we can really maximize the realism. And just these tiny little rules that we changed today have taken this portrait to the next level. You throw this on your portfolio, you're going to get callbacks. Because for you to be able to design a pretty character like this, very, very game friendly. Very, very friendly for today's businesses. Blur. Universally beautiful. Universal Barbie doll can be used for all kinds of characters. And, you know, if you want to learn something that you can use all the time, this is typically the female face you want to learn. A little bit of realism, a little bit of everything. The eyes are somewhat symbolic, so they do stretch out to the sides. So what we can do to counter that is to just tilt that down and move that up. So I'm going to get the old eye structure back, but I'm just going to have a small little squint. But I'm just trying to square the circles back, not make them long or anime, but just square those circles back. Okay, and then I'm going to erase away at whatever change happened to the eye. So bringing that older eye back. Oops. Because liquify doesn't behave. So before, after, before, after. We're just pushing the eyes back in toward the corners where before they were very long, suggesting a, you know, like a more anime influence. There's a slight squint here, but it even adds character, if anything. Alright, so can anyone summarize the biggest change we made today? Can anyone summarize it in a sentence or two? The face is actually round now. It feels like it's coming towards you. Yes, exactly. Just a quick question. Why do you all repeat the same sentence? It's like taking notes in class? Yes, exactly. I make everyone write it back to me because that writing it makes you memorize it. It actually has people you know, involve themselves in the lecture instead of just sitting there talking about wherever the sentence might lead, furries and other horrific artifacts of the modern age. I still commanded us to do so. Yeah. Yes. Also, if you post your notes from today to the community, so if you don't know where the community is, but if you post today's notes to the community, so istebrak.com, the community just can be found by clicking this little G, and you post your notes, post it under the class. By the way, Google forced us all to take the new Google. It's such garbage. I hate it. Where is the Google Plus? Damn it. Why does it go to that one? Why does that go there now? It goes to just one area? What? I'm like, is that right? Wait, what? Is this right? Is this where it was usually? This doesn't seem right. Anyway, yeah, you go here and you post it under the class notes. And if your notes are impressive, if your notes are wonderful, I do reward students for their notes. Let's see what happened here. Oh. I don't know, it feels like this is an older version of today's session. It's just the new Google Plus. I hate it so much. If you want to temporarily go back to the old Google, back to Google Classic, it's just so nice and straightforward and so pretty, and I just want to use this all the time. I guess this is right. See how we didn't see these? Like, I'm not sure what's happening anymore. Like, we didn't see all the new stuff. We saw the notes and stuff. Like, it had a previous instance of where the community was before. In any case, I hate you, Google Plus. Suck my dick. All right. So there's these changes. Lots of different changes. I use the soft brush, which added a softness to everything, but I do recommend you pick up a nice hard brush and apply this early on, all these geometries, and use soft brush where you want to polish. But same thing, it's completely missing here. You have a lot of the units that we covered already. So you have the shadow of the lower half of the face, you've got the light on either side, but you just do not have this, and it's a simple matter of damn it, it's a simple matter of just throwing in this big ass block right there. Bloop. And then we blend away. Yeah, it's pretty bright, but it's okay. Why are you on luminosity? Alright, so we're just smudging away. Right, and the smudge kind of entered the other sides, and that's fine. We just re-establish the edge of the nose structure. Make sure we're not sharing values. If you miss out on this top of the rectangle light for the nose bridge, you will overcompensate by using too much shadow on either side of the nose. This is an overrated little shadow. It doesn't do anything for the structure of the nose. It's literally useless. So I'm just going to get that edge back. Just a sharper edge does a lot for the painting. Nice sharp edge for the nose. Make sure the highlights don't carry all the way to the sides. Make sure they're nice and restricted. The face you're drawing is just a little bit compressed, and that's mostly to do with the fact that your canvas is compressed. Maybe your canvas is a little bit longer because I might have captured the wrong thing, but it could be part of the reason. Oops. So what I would do is, because it's a 14-day challenge, you're trying to learn a universal face that's very hireable, we just extend the length of the face. It's okay, I'll get the old eyes back. A face that is shorter is a face that looks too young. So a short face is a young face. And I'm just gonna sneak that back up until it looks right. And I'm just editing using layers, that's all I'm doing. So there's a little bit more length to the face, it feels more mature. I could have moved the mouth down as well, so let me do that. So I'm using layers like masks, but not really. Lengthen the nose also matures the face. So it doesn't always look like you're drawing a baby. I mean, it is a Barbie doll, but it isn't a baby Barbie. Before, after. Sorry, it's gonna get a little weird. Alright, there we go. Before, after. Just a little bit of a stunted face. Also, the bulge on either side is a little strong. So amazing 14-day challenge so far. I do recommend darkening the whites of the eyes just a little bit, just starting dark. It might help out with the realism, because then you use white only where you really need it. So you use white only in the actual bright areas. So the waterline. And that's just going to bring in that next level of realism. And just like we did before, you can lighten the eyes if you have to as well, and smudge them with the edges around them. But we're always trying to push and pull from realism, and then dress it up with that perfect kind of, it's really semi-realistic. This is realistic. It's not real in the sense of the word that you're drawing something that looks organic. A person can look like this though, and their beauty will be celebrated for sure. This is a 14-day challenger who sent me some their 13th day. They're about to finish their 14 days, And there are a lot of issues in here. One of the biggest issues is just scale, the scale of the features in comparison to each other. So the nose itself is just very, very small. The eyes are very big. So you've taken all the typical features and you've kind of exaggerated them. So lots of portraiture today, but that's fine. It's a big part of your portfolio. Okay, so I'm just tucking in. My stomach just growled. I'm so hungry. All I had today was a piece of toast and some tea. Okay. So I'm just tucking in all of this stuff. The chin is just a little bit masculine. And this nose is still, the shape of it itself is a very particular type of nose. It's very downturned with large nostrils. Raising the bridge of the nose to be between the eyes, under the brow bone. The bridge of the nose, the actual bone of the nose is part of the eyebrow system. Write that back to me. It's part of the brow system, the brow bone system. I'm just giving this some shape. The eyebrows need to indicate where the brow bone is. Just raising them along to be a little higher. So there are a lot of things that, if you wanted to go for an organic face, like a real face, something realistic, something that feels like it's a little bit more geared to realism, you should work with references for a while. But that extensive kind of like a caricature look that you had is really strong. It's too strong for the face. What I'm going to do actually is just, this entire nose isn't fitting in, so I'm going to just erase it away completely and then edit the one above it. Okay. But your proportions are a little bit off, and I do invite you to start using some references before you start to make a permanent habit out of these scales, out of these proportions, which is not recommended. Okay, so I shrunk the nose just a little bit just to save some of the beauty, and then I'll probably connect the rest of the face upward. But this is just working off the basic template of beauty. It isn't anything set in stone, really. The proportions that you came with were just a lot wonky. They were very wonky. Okay. Just erasing away here. Let's see what everyone's saying. The nose bridge is part of the brow bone system. Exactly. So if your nose bridge is like the start of the nose bridge, the actual bone, skeletal wise, if it's too low, you've just completely disconnected two major anatomical systems or mechanisms from each other. It's like a joint, but it's like an unmoving joint. So I'm just trying to give the face some shape. It's a very it's a lot of editing is needed. It's a very distinct kind of, it's a very pretty weird face, you know what I mean? It's one of those really pretty faces. If you want to make the eyes bigger, if you want to go back to the shape before, at least try to get a more realistic looking eye. The neck is very, very thick for a female, even for the old one. The lips seem fine. The lips actually seem like really perfect. I could just leave the lips exactly the way they were before, but it got distorted because of the nose. Just lowering the nose and shrinking the eyes might also help. So lowering the nose and shrinking the eyes. That in itself might help this painting along. If you want to keep the face looking exactly as it looked before. Right? These changes or these changes, it's just you're trying to round it all back to a more familiar anatomy. But all of these changes include a change in the nose. Alright. So I'm gonna save this as a PSD, so in case you want it back and get all your layers back. And on this piece here, I'm gonna just duplicate the layer, and then excuse me, and then I'm going to enlarge the painting, lower the opacity down, and then shrink the head back, because right now where it was, the head was way too large for the body. So this feels a little bit more like the childlike proportions, where before they were just very small, like someone was wearing a big head. But children, their heads are proportionate to their bodies. When the head, meaning like it's very close to the size of the body. When we get older, our head really doesn't keep growing. Our body keeps growing. So our body grows around the head. So the head ends up looking small. Only because the body kept growing. But it's not that the head is super, super big as a kid. It's big compared to what it ends up looking like when you're an adult. That balloon was very, very narrow. It needs to be a little more wide. Your colors are just a little bit off. I'm not sure why you chose this specific earthy skin tone, and even has like pores. It's you know, it looks like a shoulder. So you should probably choose a more, you know, a color that reflects the theme you're going for, which is like childhood innocence or something like that. You just have a very unusual color chosen for that balloon here. Alright, so that would be my change. I suggest you grayscale it. The face looks old for a number of reasons, but they're not really severe age signatures that you're using. Just the shadows on either side of the nose. You want to just connect this back to the face. And you want to avoid using splotches, so get that soft brush out and use a little bit more splotches. The shadows on either side of the nose, again, overused. And the shadows outlining the nostrils, also overused. And then to fix that lack of contrast that we now have, because we lightened everything, we create an edge instead of using a line. Even if your reference says so. I'm sure your reference is a lot more toned down and has more extreme edges than this. But you don't see the edge, your vocabulary doesn't have the edge in it. So you see the contrast before you see the edge, which is problematic. There are always reasons why you can't follow your reference exactly. But I feel like it looks just a little less old when we do that. It looks less like a mustache, you know? It's starting to read as a mustache. The eyes also seem like very emotionless. Maybe you could throw in a smile, and that outlined lip is just, it does not fit in. Get rid of that outline on the lip. You do not need it. All you need is the darkness of the upper lip compared to the lower lip. The upper lip is always darker in a top-down light situation. So I'm going to look at the comment section in a second, so prepare your questions if you have any. But the class is pretty much done. I hope today's session helped you guys. You also need some more radial shading on the edge of the lips here. I hope you guys learned something from today's class. You know, I'm saying the same old fundamentals, and I know it's like, oh, I have to learn the fundamentals. It seems like you have to go on like some sort of spiritual journey, and there's like a PhD involved somewhere in there. It's really not. It's the most basic stuff that I repeat literally every class. I'm just trying to give it a more innocent smile, just like that. Cute little mouth. Just throw a little dark spot there. And then just comparing it to before. And you'll see what I mean with that whole age thing. Actually, before I do that, remember that whole chin trick we tried with the female face that we started off with? So I'm gonna just try that. Oops. Then gradually decrease the face, lower the face, I mean, into the shadow. Make sure you write the word Istebrak with your questions, or else I won't catch your question. Because it signals to me like a little color, so I can see where the questions are. I'll scroll up and find your questions, don't worry. Alright, so half the face will be in shadow. Very, very awesome trick to make the face pop out, to make the face emerge. Just so that it has like a more three-dimensional shape to it that's part of a light environment. Same old fundamentals. Like I told you, I repeat myself every class. And then after. Before. Feels old. The head is way too large for the body. You might have misread your reference somehow. And then after, we've enlarged the body back, got rid of those age signatures around the nose, and gave the face some more three-dimensional shape. And it just feels more easy on the eyes. It feels more cute with that little smile. Alright, so Istebrak, how do you draw a double chin without it looking like a butt? You know, I mean like the chin with the weird notch in the middle, not like the actual double chin. Oh, okay. So when you look at when there's a light source, right, so let's say that there's a hole. It's really a hole. It's not just like a line. Let's give her a little double chin. Liam Neeson chin. I don't know why I attached Liam Neeson to all the babies that we draw. It just happens. If the light source is coming from above and it's a hole, we just simply represent it with a dot. But that a hole isn't a hole consistently. It has a relief point. So we have a little bit of the hole catching some of the light. And you zoom out. And you edit all of that out. Leave behind some of that. And they're all very easy to break down when you have form studies in your background. So we just have that double chin now. And we just always think about where the light source is coming from. If the light source is coming from the side, then only part of that double chin will be visible. And then there will be the edge. And then some of the light source will capture the other half of that chin. Just like that. So part of it will be in shadow. Just depends on where the light source is coming from. The light source is coming from the side. So this whole half here would be dark if the light source is coming from the side, and we'd have that one relief of light right there. And the secondary on the side of the chin. Okay? So it's about knowing where your light source is, realizing that by measurement it's a depression in the chin, and then out of that you decide which side is illuminated, which side is dark. As long as you can rotate the light source in your mind's eye, you can do anything. You can draw anything. You think of the geometry. It's just like a whole side of the hole, or it's like a moon crater. We see sides that are illuminated, the rest is all in shadow. She looks bored. Some kids are like that in a photo. They just look like, another photo. How do you manage to make the faces more unique when sculpting the painting? Whenever I try them, I just end up drawing a fairly typical face, don't capture my reference well. Especially since you're sculpting, something very new, and you're trying it, and then you're just going to go revert back to your visual library, the standardized face that you might have in there. And you're going to go back to that because sculpting is an unusual thing. It's very new. So to compensate, you end up, calling on some really, really familiar symbols you have in your mind or something like that. And you end up drawing a basic face, even if you're not symbol or line dependent. The best thing to do when learning how to block in and going for that sculpting feeling a la carte is to work from reference for a little bit. Use some reference, and then the reference will guide you, so you don't have any creative pressure on you a la carte. You just have the reference to look at and your desire to sculpt. The creative force, the creative pressure is gone because your reference is telling you who to draw and how their nose looks like and what beauty they have, right? So if you want to study sculpting for sculpting's sake, get rid of that excessive dependency or that need for creativity, because it'll end up leading you into drawing a really basic looking face. Oh my god, the poor baby, I'm sorry for asking. 20 pieces, John, in a portfolio, 10 to 25 pieces. Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. If you have some 10 good pieces, it's going to speak a lot as well. Your faces never look real. That could be a million reasons. We covered a lot of them today, Poseidon. Istebrak, can I reference your tutorials in my 14-day challenge? Absolutely. If I've already critiqued someone's 14-day challenge, you can go ahead and reference those critiques that I have. Absolutely, Naomi. Thank you, Istebrak. This has been my first live lesson with you. I'm learning a lot with your videos. God bless you. Oh, thank you very much, Casadorio. You mentioned using darkened layers a lot, however, usually merging the layers just ends up changing it back to it if it was a normal layer without keeping the effect. Chris, as long as your layer underneath is a normal layer that has no transparencies, it will not revert back to the usual. It will actually preserve the darken effect. As long as your layer is, like for instance, if we have two layers, one of them is slightly visible, and I throw a darken layer on top that's a little darker, it'll darken, and I merge it down. It's going to preserve as much, but it's still going to be on top of a transparent layer. So any color underneath it won't behave that way because the layer itself, the standard layer underneath it, is transparent. But if we merge the other way around, we lose some of that effect. I don't know if you noticed, but we lost some of that effect because the layer itself, you're on top of a darkened layer. The darkened layer, if you merge anything on top of a darkened layer, you lose the effect because it'll take a standard layer. Get it? It's not going to preserve the darken effect because it's being overtaken by the state of another layer. So just make sure that your layer underneath is like 100% opacity. It's not transparent. It's the basic layer. So if you're dressing up a solid, no transparency is used on it, either by layer or by brush or whatever, and merge the effects down, merge down, that will preserve the effect that you're going for. But I know what you're saying. It can revert back if you don't follow that. How often do you think people should make masterpieces? Once a year, a month, never? You make the masterpiece as it's required. I think that when you feel like it's time for you to show off your work, make a masterpiece. Lately, I've been thinking about masterpieces. I have been studying all year. That was my New Year's resolution in 2016, January 2016, and I wanted to do more studies. I wanted to focus more on studying, finding where my weak points are, and then just focusing on those for a good year. And then now my new New Year's resolution is to try as many masterpieces as I can. I need to find where my other weaknesses are. But I'm consciously aware of the fact that my masterpieces will lead me to knowing my weakness. Everything that I called a quote-unquote masterpiece in my portfolio, just my stupid little gallery, I just found so many weaknesses in them. And that's, I mean, looking at it now, I cringe. I just want to just completely look away from that shit garbage, because it reveals to me what I don't yet know, and I know that I will eventually look back at the masterpiece, quote unquote masterpiece, that I'm going to look for, that I'm going to make, and I'm going to find mistakes, and I'm aware that I'm going to eventually get over it. I'm going to get over my masterpiece and think it's garbage. So you do the masterpiece when you're, God, the stream just caught up with them. I even cringed just seeing that again. Um, yeah, it's you're gonna see all your mistakes there, and you're it's a chance to show off what you know, and a chance to discover what you don't. But just be aware that that's what's gonna happen. A masterpiece is good for that. When we're super duper pros later on in our 40s, we will be always hitting, not missing. How do I not use lines and digital pieces without everything blending together? Significant, please replace your lines with an edge and it won't blend. The reason why everything is blending is because you haven't introduced the word edge into your vocabulary. Istebrak, most pictures of women on Google Images or Photoshop crazy light source. Where do I find good references? I think you have to Google, art reference or something like that. Try to find websites instead of Google search. Google search will almost always give you that garbage. Sometimes you can Photoshop like editorial kind of photographs, or uh, what's that word for dramatic lighting? Naomi, you can look that up. Dramatic lighting portraits. You can also just try to find the actual websites made for artists by artists and just bring references into that. Some photographers really do not edit their work. Amazing photographers that take amazing portraits. They don't edit their work. The model has no makeup, very little prop work, and you're just taking a raw photo of the light on form, which is very difficult to pull off, I know, but the pros can do it. And if you find those photographers, you find their portfolios, you'll find some amazing referencing. You just gotta look a little bit more specifically. Google search shouldn't be your only resource. Istebrak, can you make a short lesson on how to use Liquify properly? I will try. I'll add that to the list of things that I've been waiting for me to I will try, thank you. November 6th is going to be daylight savings time. We're going to go back an hour, so my 6:11 will be an hour, for usual 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be an hour earlier for you if you don't change as well, if you don't go back as well. It just depends. I really don't know who changes, who doesn't. But for us, it's November 6th this year, and we're going to be moving back an hour. Alright, so that's it for today. Thank you everyone for watching. If you liked what you saw today, just go to istebrak.com and have a look over there at all the stuff I have, for all the questions. You guys have questions, just go to community, scroll down to the Q&A. I will be a quick little announcement that's actually pretty big. Please pay attention. There will be a contest hosted for the holidays. It'll be a comment contest. I'll make a YouTube video basically inviting you guys to comment and describe how you'll use your tablet that you will win, and how you'll use Portrait Studio. So you'll win Portrait Studio and a tablet. It will be like a medium Intuos tablet, just the one that I love and that I'll be giving out. There will be only one winner, possibly 3 winners, but at different tiers of reward. But if the comment, it's pretty much a comment contest, and whoever writes, how this channel has affected them, how they expect their journey to be affected, what they want to do with their art. And usually this is I'm inviting this for people who don't currently have a tablet or have a shabby tablet. But it's time that we got you guys some tablets. So it'll be really, really nice just to see someone get something like that, and for me to be able to give back. I think that's really important. But this is pretty much a contest for those who are beginners, not fully advanced people. Of course, people who already have like Cintiqs and stuff, you're not invited. I'm joking. If you're just there to win Portrait Studio, I might end up just giving the tablet to a student who doesn't have a tablet. If you do have a tablet but your comment is great, I'll figure it out there. I'll post all the information for it. There won't be a challenge for the winter holidays, but there will be this contest. So again, it's not really a contest. It's more of a make your case, you know, so you can get something in return from this channel. And I think Portrait Studio on a new tablet will open doors for younger students who don't have much. And I'm going to try to add more and more to the rewards as the holidays come by. But yeah, if you win and you don't want the tablet, I'll give it to someone who needs the tablet. Um, yeah, why not Cintiq, guys? Damn it, what? It's okay if your English is bad. I'll talk about all of that in the video. Do what you can. If you have to write it in your own language, write it in your language and I'll translate it. I'll find a way to translate it. Just, articulate yourself. The comments, I hope, will not be erased. I don't think they will be. Only if it hits millions of comments, I think, then YouTube starts erasing them. But out of those comments, I will choose a winner depending on how they describe and what they write. There's going to be like a 100 word limit, a 100 letter limit, character limit for the comment. And it's going to be nice seeing what you guys write for me. I might not make it a comment contest because I really do want you guys to make your case. So it might be like 500 character or 500 word limit, and just describing your experiences with the channel and all of that. But I'll talk about it then when I get it ready. I'll probably post it on December 1st. That's when the contest and the video will go up, and I'll officially start getting the posts. So the posts will start December 1st, and I'll choose the winner around Christmas. And I'm sorry it's going to delay. Some of you need a tablet as soon as possible, but some of you might win a tablet for Christmas. But if you're waiting to get it, like if you can get a tablet by Christmas, please go ahead and get it. But it's pretty much for people who can't afford one at all, even for Christmas, which breaks my heart, just saying it. But thanks everyone for coming today. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.